disrespect her because of being female. Gender-based violence starts like that. People start by intimidating you, by calling you names, and eventually it becomes violent.
Councillor Molosane, there's a point of order. Councillor Mhlongo.
Thank you very much to acknowledge me, Speaker. I raise Speaker to call a point of order on Councillor Molosane, not to mix things that do not mix. He must not mix oil with water. What we are referring to when we talk about gender-based violence, we are talking about men who violently kill women.
Councillor Mhlongo, it's not your opportunity to,
no, it is mine.
to rectify yourself. No,
because there's no one.
You're standing on a point of order. Please sit down.
That is a point of order.
Take your seat. Take your seat. Please continue, Councillor Molosane, and please speak into the mic.
I'll try. I don't want to hold it close to my mouth. It's uncomfortable, Speaker. Speaker, I'm tempted to respond to Councillor Mhlongo, but I'm worried that we don't have medical services outside, because I can give him a political smackdown right now, and we carry on. Speaker, as I was saying, gender-based violence does not simply mean that someone has to assault you. Insult, emotional abuse, physical abuse, it's part of what we call gender-based violence. We should
Councillor
not be selective.
Molosane, you're not audible. So you'll have to speak into the mic.
Can you tell this man, please, man?
You really
Hello? Hello?
Please continue.
Can you tell that man? We can't hear that man.
Please continue, Councillor.
Is this better? Yeah. Yeah, no, that's much better. Oh, okay, thanks. As I was saying, anyway, let me get straight to the issue. I rise to speak on item 17 and 18, assessment reports of the Health and Social Development Department for the Quota under review, financial year 2021 to 2022 for October and December 2021. It's worth mentioning that this report is not of the multi-party government led by Dr. Mpopalatsi, but of the ANC-led unity, whatever it was called. We have noted a few matters that needs to be addressed, which I'll highlight in my speech. We note item 18, and we call for more improvements that needs to be done on this matter. House Chair, it's quite worrying that the Department of Health has failed to report on the extended services under this Quota under review. This tells a story that the city of Johannesburg was once under a government that chose to be on autopilot, the so-called government of unity. We are now left to fix a broken system, a broken city indeed we find ourselves fixing. We call upon the department to start reporting on the extended service hours in order for the committee to perform effective oversight. The department has failed to initiate 365 people who have tested positive for HIV. We need to have measures in place to trace and initiate those who have tested positive for HIV on treatment. We cannot afford a deadly virus such as HIV to spreading like wildfire. We have learned of a new variant that has been discovered in the Netherlands by a research from the University of Oxford called the VB variant. The research states that the variant is more infectious and could lead to deadly to one's immune system. We have seen how the COVID virus showed that a mutation of a virus can shake up the world if we are unprepared. Let's get the ball rolling and start preparing our health facilities. House Chair, speaking of COVID, the report on the testing site does not give much details on the challenges that they're experienced by the testing sites in rolling out the vaccination of COVID. Such details are needed to determine whether or not, as a city, we are reaching full immunity or not. We would appreciate a full detailed report on the sites that are offering vaccination and locations for the community to do an oversight. It is our collective responsibility as leaders to create awareness on the importance of vaccination. House Chair, speaking of awareness, the Health Department awareness campaign at COJ hostels is welcomed by the committee. However, we would appreciate a detailed report that will include the names of the hostels, figures of the people that they've interacted with, and perhaps the department should look at preparing a questionnaire in whether or not the campaigns that they're rolling out are helpful and where we need to improve as a city. We need to comply with the needs of our people and not assume that we know what people want. Speaking of compliance, House Chair, we have a concern that the high number of informal and formal food traders who do not comply with the food legislation. We call upon the department to put measures in place to make sure that our food traders are following the food legislation. House Chair, as I conclude, allow me to address the capital projects. We have noted with great concern that there is no progress on the Zandspruit Clinic, which has been a problem for some time. We call upon the department to start engaging the affected stakeholders so our people can get the necessary healthcare facilities that they need. The Cliffontein Clinic Wellness Center, the encroachment issue is not something new. The department needs to start pushing JPC to address the matter and make sure that it's urgently attended to. We would welcome a more detailed progress report in terms of the capital budget. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Molaisane. Councillor More.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker of Council, Madam Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Caucus Leader of Action SA, Councillor Fuzingobeni, leaders of political parties, whips, councillors, visitors, I greet you. Speaker, I rise on item 19, Health. Action SA notes the progress made by the department in the second quarter. According to this report, the department managed to implement 4 out of 7 city priorities and 34 out of 39 KPIs were achieved. Speaker, it is however concerning that the picture depicted by this report differs so much from what we live on the ground. Our real life story is so different. Quality healthcare service starts when a patient enters the facility gate. We don't tick boxes. We don't fill gaps and cook numbers, Speaker. The report further notes that we as Joburgers live in a well-run city. That is not true, Speaker. Citizens have suffered for so long now, thanks to the maladministration by the previous administration. Irrespective of the quarterly monitoring done by the Environment Health Service officers, that department is in shambles. An urgent intervention is required to address the significant non-compliance to the public health bylaws by some food outlets. Our people deserve better, Speaker. They deserve safe, reliable, quality food. This is a sad story indeed. Speaker, there is a dire need for integrated approach working together with our sister departments to combat the mushrooming of unlicensed plaza shops, some selling expired food to our people. And this perpetuates the high burden of disease in Johannesburg and it shortens the life expectancy of our Joburgers. This is incompetency and the legacy of the previous administration. Speaker, now is the time to fix South Africa. It's time for consequence management and good governance under the stewardship of the new multi-party government, and it all begins in Johannesburg, our home and economic capital. Thanks to MMC Ashley Sauls for the recent inspection on food and exit dates in Alexander shops. You lead by example. You are on the ground, and we thank you for that. As Action SA, we believe that functional municipalities are a foundation of a prosperous state. As Action SA, we note the report and are ready to fix Johannesburg, working together with our coalition partners, because
Speaker.
we know that we know that when
Councillor
Johannesburg
Morais.
works, South Africa
Councillor
works.
Morais,
I thank you,
there's a point of
Speaker.
order. There's a point of order.
No, it's not a point of order, Speaker. I'm not calling an order on the councillor speaking.
Okay.
There are councillors to my left that are taking videos. I want to find out, is it allowed now?
No, it's not allowed. As long as the flesh is not on and stuff like that.
Then what
You
are the
all know the
consequences?
rules. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Morais, are you done? Thank you very much. Councillor Mutupi? Councillor Mutupi? Oh, Councillor, sorry. I thought we are here for business today. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Speaker. At least finally you noted me. Speaker, I'm not sure if you allow me. In the last council, somebody raised a point of privilege. I'm not sure if you'll allow me to raise that. Just a minute or two.
What
Please.
is the point, Councillor?
Speaker, the government of local unity is no more in power. And the DA-led government is in power. And they must
Councillor, no.
No, can I raise something? Can you listen to me, Speaker?
No.
Speaker, just a second,
wait, no,
please.
Councillor, I can't. I can't. If you want to be on the speaker's list, you please put your name on the speaker's
Yeah,
list.
but somebody was not on the speaker's list.
No, then I must allow everybody on that point. Because hana be ale o tlo nyaka gore
No,
re
but you
debate
did.
issue eo.
But you did last
O
time.
nyaka No, you can't raise it alone. It's not possible. Councillor, please sit down.
No, I'll respect
No,
you.
sorry.
No, it's fine, I'll respect you.
No,
Speaker. But
no.
don't do it again.
No, o tlo senya meeting here.
But let's not do it again. Speaker.
No, Councillor. Thank you. Councillor Mutupi.
I get sebaka se ke go leboge Speaker. Let me acknowledge the leader of the majority, Comrade Mpomwerane, my fellow councillors from the ANC. Greetings and colleagues.
Councillor Mutupi, there's a point of order. Councillor Mpatlele. Councillor Mutupi, please take your seat. You can switch off mic.
SEFF rata gore councillor Modupi wa swanelwa ka sega geno ka mokgwa o apereng. E
What's your
fela ya
point of
majority e
order?
tlogela.
Councillor Mpatlela, how many wards do you guys have? Because we have 81 wards. Thank you. 87. I'm rising on item 18, Speaker. The ANC also notes the report and again applauds the previous administration on the work done, and we appreciate the department's performance. However, the ANC caucus would like to submit the following to the MMC. It remains a concern to the ANC that the ESP program experienced challenges, mainly the residents that come from the poor backgrounds. We would like to submit to the department that they expand their reach to allow the walk-ins, because the majority of people come from the poor background and impoverished. Some of us, we do not even have access to internet, let alone a smartphone, and purchasing data is a problem. Speaker, also, re rata go botsisha man gore go diagetseng ka first term report, and then Sukhongolose asinamona asinanzondo siyayidumisa ANC cha. Thank you, Speaker.
Councillor Ntule.
Councillor Muthupi.
Thank you, Speaker. I would like to greet the Executive Mayor, the caucus leader of the July movement, Sepetele Rasirute, the councillors of the July movement, and the councillors of the city. Speaker, the EFF rises on item 17. Speaker, even though as we at the EFF are noting the said report, however, we are gravely concerned as to why the report excludes the basic clinic in Orange Farm Extension 7. The residents of Orange Farm are depending on their public services. Their clinic was built more than 20 years ago. Speaker, are you listening? Can you please give me your attention? I'm speaking. Are you listening, Speaker? Can I rephrase? Okay. Speaker, even though we as the EFF are noting the said report, however, we are gravely concerned as to why this report excludes the base clinic in Orange Farm Extension 7A, which hosts the poor of the poorest. Speaker, all of us, we know here that without a doubt, the majority of the residents of the Orange Farm depend on public services. Their clinic, which was built 20 years ago, it remains the same. Hence, during the harsh weather condition, patient must wait outside. I will not be surprised to learn that the entire clinic of the Orange Farm in Orange Farm Extension 7 must be the same size as the clinic renovated in Florida. The clinic in Orange Farm Extension 7 must be renovated to the state-of-art clinic, Speaker. Speaker, it is again heartbreaking to see that the performance of the social development report. Can I hold my laptop next to me? Speaker, even though, okay, I'm here. Just a minute, Speaker. Don't take my time, please. Speaker, it is again heartbreaking to see that the performance of social development, according to the said report, is rated as good, though it is common sight in our news to see that the tech shop in the same location reported the selling of expired goods. We have gotten used to hearing the learners in poor communities either getting sick, and in worst case scenarios, some of them are dying and expired food bought in the tech shops. Speaker, we can't help but wonder where the health department gets its statistics report, where it gets its statistic reports. Where it gets its
1
statistic
minute
report
left,
from.
Councillor.
When it is known for the fact that not once and not twice that the quality of water here in Johannesburg has reported as the issue of concern. Again, who gets most affected? The poor of the poorest. Because those citizens in the suburb are not affected, those who are represented by our municipality can afford to buy our bonakwa. According to the Constitution of South Africa, water and quality of water is the most basic service in every serious government ought to be prioritized. And the fourth cardinal pillar of the July
Councillor.
movement states.
Councillor, please take your seat. There's a point of order.
Okay.
Councillor Bitka.
Acting Speaker, the member must not mislead this House. There's a difference between the water being used from rivers and the water coming out of the taps. She's misleading the House as far as the quality of water in Johannesburg is concerned.
Sit down, Madala.
Councillors, can we have order, please? If you
Sit down, man, Manglazi, man.
Thank you, Councillor Bitcow.
I'm the old age home.
Councillor Ngwenya.
Speaker Ngabong. Should I call him learned friend? My learned friend, water is water. How you justify it in terms of functionality and how you extract it, it doesn't matter. Let us understand the constitutions of this country. Thank you so much.
Councillors, we've noted the point of order. Councillor Bitcow, I'm not going to take another hand. Councillor Ntwele, please proceed. You've got 8 seconds to complete.
Speaker. According to the Constitution of South Africa, water and quality of water is the most basic services in every serious government ought to be prioritized. And the fourth cardinal pillar of the July movement states that the role of the government is to provide quality and health services. But here...
Thank you, Councillor. Take your seat. Next is Councillor Mposula.
Greetings to the Speaker of the Council, the Executive Mayor, Leader of Action SA Caucus, MMC Ngobeni.
Sorry, Councillor, just hold on. Councillor Ntwele, please switch off the mic. Thank you.
And fellow colleagues, as Action SA, we would like to acknowledge the report with concern. Social Development Department forms an important part in addressing the plight of the downtrodden people. The contents of the report left a lot to be desired, especially because of the inconsistency uncovered. As an example, it is mentioned on the report that the agro-processor that were established to have received less achievement, but we have got no clarity on the reasons for that. 33 agro-processors were established against the quarterly target of 60. It cannot be accepted to have 50% success rate on issues impacting the less fortunate. Another example of substandard and mediocre performance that was reported on the ESP, that total of 5,326 individuals have benefited from the program against the quarterly target of 10,000. What is disturbing, Speaker, is that their figures were not even verified by the Auditor General. This, Speaker, makes us to question the credibility and the integrity of the Social Development Report. It was also reported that there were constraints in managing human resources. This shows inefficiencies and some level of incompetence in addressing the plight of our people. It is said that out of 544 available posts, only 218 vacancies were filled. You cannot run such a crucial department on a skeleton staff. In closing, I want to quote Albert Einstein. He says, "We cannot solve the current problems with the same thinking that created them." I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next, Councillor Fresling.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Greetings to the PA leadership, all protocol observed. I am rising on the second quarter performance report of the Social Development Department. This department is responsible for critical services in the well of society. However, having read through the report, there is a clear indication of exclusion in many areas. The indigent funeral program is still not known by many, and more public education is needed. Substance abuse, GBV, is an all-time high in the city of Joburg. and more needs to be done in terms of intervention and awareness programs. Our young people are feeling hopeless due to lack of opportunities.
30 seconds left.
We look forward to more youth programs to be rolled out under the capable leadership of MMC Ashley Sauls I. Restoring the heart of politics, ons baizani, salute.
Thank you, Councillor. Next, Councillor Mpotulo.
Greetings to Chair of Chairs, leader of our caucus, Councillor Mpomwerane, and fellow councillors. Greetings to Chair of Chairs, leader of our ANC caucus, Councillor Mpomwerane, and fellow councillors. I rise on item 33 on health. The ANC would like the council to approve the second quarter oversight report of the Health and Social Development Section 79 Committee on the 2021-2022 second quarter budget and performance assessment reports of the Health Department and Social Development Department for the period October to December 2022. However, we note that the first quarter report was not tabled. As the ANC would like to commend the Health Department for the exceptional work that they have done in the past year as reflected in the report. With that said, it is important to note that there are areas that need intervention in order to ensure that the people of our city enjoy quality primary health care and services across all Section 79 clinics. As the ANC would like to recommend that an oversight be done at Zandspruit, as there are encroachment issues with regards to the various departments that are involved. We also would like an oversight to be done at Klepfontein Clinic and Wellness Center and Terfontein Clinic to check on the extent of the problems reported by the Health Department. We note the report.
Thank you, Councillor. MMC Sauls the first.
Ish, this thing is jumping. Madam Chair, Madam Mayor, in your absence, the rest of the councillors, my fellow councillors. We note all the comments made and inputs made for the reports in question. I do note that it does not speak of a period way in which I have taken office. So we have inherited Councillor Gina, where you going? I'm about to speak about you. We've inherited this department, and an inheritance you can't choose. When you inherit something, it is given to you not by your own choice. But I want to take the opportunity, because it's the first time I speak about the department, and I'd like to have the posture of saying to the former MMC of Health and Social Development for what you were able to manage to do. I want to say thank you and wish you well. And I want to take the posture of saying, I accept the inheritance, and I accept it as my own. I accept it with the challenges, I accept it with the good and the bad. And I want to reassure this House that I am confident that we did not just only inherit the challenges, but as an inheritance, I take it as my own, so I don't consider the criticism as it being towards you, former MMC. I take it as being towards me. It is my responsibility now that I have inherited, and I want to reassure everyone that has made inputs that we will definitely seek to address this, because based on my 2-week experience in office, I can confidently say that I have also inherited a highly qualified and competent team of officials. Don't misinterpret it as compliments to the former administration. But because I'm of truth and transparency, I look at the team that we have in the department, and I can reassure my colleagues that this next quarter is going to be one of hard work, where we are going to execute with tact, with excellence and military precision. And those who does not do so will work themselves out of the system. We shall ensure that we restore the heart of service. For ours is the mandate as articulated within the 7 mayoral priorities. Ours specifically is to be and ensure that Joburg is a city that cares. There will be a consistency between the reports and the daily realities
1 minute left,
of our
MMC.
people. And I want to say, as we get ready for a new season, it will be a good season. We will help our elderly, for they are our golden citizens. We cannot have a golden start without our golden citizens. In conclusion, Madam Chair, I want to say let's start today. Yesterday, I was outside in the foyer when we were during lunch, and we have health officials that is also here with us from start to beginning, but they were not included in the catering. I asked yesterday for that to be done. It was done yesterday, and I'm truly grateful. And I ask that as from today, that our health officials that comes to assist us, that we ensure that they are included in our catering, even if they are done so under my name. So please, catering, it's 1 + 5.
Time's
And
up,
thank you.
MMC. Thank you.
Solve the first, but tell the council that I assisted you in that department. You must
Next
tell the
is
council.
Councillor Magwenchu,
Please,
Chairperson of
tell
the
the council.
committee. Councillors, you cannot speak unless recognized in the House. Councillor Magwenchu.
Speaker, I would like to thank all the Section 79 committee members in the Health and Social Development portfolio for their cooperation. I would also like to thank our support staff, Baba Lafana, the researcher, Tumelo Ramutoga from legal, and Velapi Malulega, our coordinator. They have really made my duty of tabling my maiden report a bit easier than I had anticipated. Speaker, noting the mentioned observations, I rise to recommend that the council approves the observations, inputs, and recommendations on the report. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, the recommendations are on pages 17.4, 18.51, and 33.11. Are the items agreed to? Thank you.
Our next items, item 19, which is the performance assessment report for the housing department for the 2021-22 financial year for the period October to December 2021. And also item 20, which is performance assessment report for the Johannesburg Social Housing Company for the 2021 and 22 financial year for the period October to December 2021. And both are read together with item 34, which is an oversight report of the Housing Section 79 Committee on the 2021 and 2022 second quarter performance report of the Department of Housing and Johannesburg Social Housing Company, JOSHCO, for the period October to December 2021.
Thank you, Acting Secretary. Councillor Christians?
Thank you, Speaker. I greet you all in the name of peace in the world. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning to our Executive Mayor in absentia, Councillor Palazzi, MMC Babaso, the political head for housing, MMCs present, Chair of Chairs, who's the Acting Speaker, Chairpersons of their respective Section 79 committees, Chief Whip, Councillors of the Housing Committee and fellow councillors. Speaker, I hereby table the performance assessment report for the Housing Department for the 2021-22 financial year for the period October to December 2021. This is item 19, which deals with the Housing Department. The committee members, Speaker, raised several issues to get clarity, which was then provided. The following issues were raised by the committee. The USDG was underspent in that quarter. The 30 days payment of invoices was not achieved. KPI 2 was overspent. KPI 3 failed to achieve target. KPI 4, which deals with flats, had an overspend. Hostel target was not achieved, and the old age target not achieved due to budget constraints. The detail of this is in the committee report, which is item 34. I also hereby table the performance assessment report for the Johannesburg Social Housing Company for the 2021-22 financial year for the period October to December 2021. Item 20, which is JOSHCO, only 16 out of the 21 KPIs were reported on. Speaker, I hereby table all the reports for debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next, Councillor Rafeti.
Thank you, Chair of Chairs. I'm rising to speak on item 20, which is JOSHCO. You know, JOSHCO reminds me of one friend I had in school. You know, that one that they give all the tasks to, but he does not complete anything. So, MMC Mabaso, it's really concerning. If you heard the issue that was mentioned earlier as well, with regards to the state of our parking area, and once again, when you look closely, it's again that guy that is responsible for this. 6 out of 16. That is a drape report, Mazakand. That's not work for you. The underspending of CAPEX is very worrying. And now you see, if you read through the report, it says we respond to issues of maintenance in 14 days. Ebana. I recently visited some of these units, and there are people that are being rushed to a hospital because of waters that are seeping through the walls that has not been attended to in over 2 years. But on, say, 14 days, Iman Baiza definitive. The issue around rental collection still needs to be improved on. But with that said, it's actually said that when you go to all of these units, what you find is that the business units, sadly, are given to foreign nationals, whilst We are telling people, business owners that wants to do business in their own area where they stay cannot do that because they not get the opportunity to be actually given premises to do that from. But yet, on soek ons rent child. So that is something that really needs to be looked into, and we will closely monitor this particular progress made on this. But later on, I'll also, you know, when you look at this particular building, once again, underspend of CAPEX, so the speaker also has to, through the chair of chairs as well, we'll have to look into this because it's the very same braaf and me that we keep on giving responsibilities to, but they cannot keep up what needs to be done. So we need to take our residents seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rafiti. Next, Councillor Sherman.
Goeiemôre mevrou voorsitter. Goeiemôre mevrou burgemeester. Goeiemôre collega's. Ek begroet u and I'd like to greet you today. Madam Speaker, I rise to speak on item 19, Performance Assessment Report for the Housing Department for the 2021-2022 financial year for the period October to December 2021. Worth noting, upon the delivery of this presentation was the vigor and excitement of the presenter, patting himself on the back intermittently. However, the non-performance or overspend, non-spend of this department was clearly evident when presenting the KPIs, thus causing a lot of confusion around his excitement. Madam Speaker, this clearly is evident on the ground, and emphasis on maintenance or the lack thereof, specifically the flat stock my esteemed colleague has just mentioned now, and thus notwithstanding, because it's throughout the city of Johannesburg, of which 90% unfortunately are in a state of derelict. Now, a lot has been said about that particular word by just mentioning it. The dictionary says it very well. Derelict, in a very poor condition as a result of disuse and neglect. In this instance, neglect. Mr. Speaker, Vasco de Gama, who is not here at the moment, good couple of years, had to go out personally to a flat or a block of flats in Nuclear with his welding machine or tools or whatever you want to call it, to go and weld a staircase through which a 12-year-old boy fell, fortunately only breaking his collarbone. Not to mention the state of our retirement homes throughout the city of Johannesburg. MMC Solder first mentioned our elderly, of which, you know, thereof. Pardon me? As the natural cycle of life is to look after our elderly, but sad to say, this department is failing them dismally, and by default, the city of Johannesburg. Needless to say, this department is in desperate need of some form of turnaround strategy. As Madam Speaker, it's just a matter of time before some form of legal action will be taken against the city for one or the other disaster. The Democratic Alliance notes this report with serious concerns. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next, Councillor Nenemba.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Greetings to the Speaker, Executive Mayor, party leader of the EFF, the hospital, EFF, 29 Red Battalions, and fellow councillors. I am here to report on the EFF position on the performance assessment report from housing for the October to December quarter. It is shame for the Department of Housing to report a 50% achievement in a country that has such high rates of poverty, unemployment, inequality. Even that 50% they have reported is questionable. Speaker, the claimed overachievement of constructed mixed housing unit is nothing but an exaggeration of their failures, as this was accumulated from the previous quarters. One also can't help but to look at the expenditure reported or lack thereof. The audacity to report 25% on capital expenditure and 70% on operational expenditure. This is nothing but shameful. Shameful that we have communities that have running sewage passing their doors, and yet the Department of Housing keeps the money budgeted to service such communities. Again, Speaker, very shameful. The target of just 792 issued title deeds is another embarrassment for black government. It brings to question if you do not understand the importance of blacks in owning property. Why does the Department of Housing hate people of Pennyville so much that it comes here and report having issued one title deed for the entire community? I repeat, one title deed for one house. The EFF in its first non-negotiable cardinal pillar has long advocated and continues to advocate for the expropriation of land without compensation as a means of accelerating ownership of land by the previously dispossessed black majority. With regards to the roads that have tarred, I can boldly stand here and say, if we were to visit them in a couple of months, there will be nothing left of the so-called tarred roads. For all we know, that they are strong enough to withstand just one rain and they are flushed away. This happens because tenders are awarded to some political elites who are just brought to be enriched by Texas money. It is for this reason that the EFF
Councillor
instead...
Nenemba, please take a seat. There's a point of order. Which councillor raised their hands? I can't see now.
It's Phakathi.
Councillor Phakathi, please proceed.
Yeah, I'm Phakathi from the IFP. Speaker, I'm raising on a point of order to such an extent. My fellow councillor is raising some of the issues which are out of the report. If you clearly understand, the issue of tarring of roads is within another entity. He spoke of running water next to the houses. It's another entity again. And there is a service level agreement with those entities. If they don't perform their duties, it is not the duty of the IFP to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. You can take a seat. Councillor Nenemba. Councillor Nenemba, please take your seat. There's another hand. Councillor Settler. Sorry, please forgive me. I can't see your name from here. Proceed, Councillor.
Thanks, Chair. And apologies for raising my hand on a point of order. The councillor must learn to read reports. In fact, not read, but study them. Because all that Councillor Nenemba is saying is in the report. So he must just not assume things in this council. He must go back to the report and study it. Those things are in the report. Don't come and speak on assumptions here.
Councillor, thank you so much. Can we allow Councillor Nenemba, please, to finish his submission? Sit down, man. Councillor Pagati, please sit down.
I
Let's
don't
not
know if
debate
there
on
is
the
a point
issue.
of, I'll be
May I
allowed for a
ask you
point of
please to
privilege.
switch off your mic and sit down? Let's allow Councillor Nenemba.
Sit down.
Councillor Nenemba, it's 3 minutes, 17 seconds. So
Thank you very
please
much.
draw to conclude. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. It is for that reason that the EFF in its third non-negotiated cardinal pillar calls for the abolishment of tenders for the building of state capacity. We have noted the acquiring of a building in Jeppes Town. The EFF believes more buildings should be acquired through expropriation to provide student accommodation and residential units. We call on the city to do an audit of all buildings and find out who owns them, who resides in them, and what business are conducted in them, if any. With regards to the useless entity, with regard to the useless entity called Josco, the EFF is certain that all of us here.
Thank you, Councillor Nenemba. Your time is up. Next, Councillor Libatan.
Thank you, Speaker. To the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, fellow councillors, I'm rising on item 19 that looks at the financial performance of the Department of Housing. I also want to greet the MMC Umuntu Omusha, Councillor Mabaso, knowing that he's continuing in this particular department. But we as Action SA want to note the particular report, but importantly want to make particular highlights and also perhaps recommendations to the current executive mayor. As we have noted that in the past, in 2016-17, there was quite a vigorous approach in terms of dealing with human settlements in the city of Johannesburg. We know that the city of Johannesburg is indebted with high levels of migrations in terms of citizens who move from different countries, but also different provinces. We also know that human settlement is in fact a provincial and a national competence. But we want to reiterate that if we look at history, when the former executive mayor, Mr. Herman Mashaba, was still in the helm, one of the best in fact, he emphasized on the issue of getting investment into infrastructure development. Way back, we used to hear about multiple billions of private investments being pumped into the Department of Housing. We also noted that there are particular mega projects that looked at abandoned buildings that were offered for social housing. But the question that we need to ask ourselves today is that why is there a syndrome of removing what works? Because today we are here as a city because people just want to remove because of who placed it or who initiated it. But Speaker, we want to also go back to the financial performances of the department. We are noting that the department just barely achieves 50% targets. And this is an important department because...
Councillor, your time is up.
Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Dlamini.
Point of order, Speaker.
Can I listen to your point of order?
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, yesterday you were requested that you remind councillors when their time is about to be depleted. And I think it's important you do that because some of the points that we take time to write here are very important. If you do that, you'll give us time to run to those points that are important, and they are mostly around the end of our speeches. So please, Speaker, remind us when our time is about to be depleted. Before time, please.
I'll do that, Councillor. But remember that the Councillor only had 2.5 minutes. Yeah, 2.5 minutes, which is very short. And it's on the speakers list. You'll see the time there. Thank you. Councillor Dlamini, please continue.
Thank you, Speaker, for allowing me to represent my organization. Greetings to all councillors of the city. Greetings to all officials of the city. Greetings to all leaders of at the public gallery. Greetings to media present. MMC, with this report of second quarter, please take note that we are closing the role played by our leadership with you. When I say leadership from our side, I mean the former mayors that worked with you. The late Jeff Makubu, the late Julie D. Matong, and the current leader, Mpomweran. Then we hope that you did manage to learn from the best mayors coming from the ANC leadership. And therefore, with this quota, we would just like to, in relation to the quota, second quarter reports for housing, as ANC, we support housing department with the second quarter reports as it is for noting. And therefore, MMC, going forward, you will be that other side as it has started now, and as we are this side in terms of leadership. Why am I saying that? Today I can't say much in relation to this quota, as we are almost supposed to take note that we are working with our leaders. But going forward, take note that we will remind you that any failure that is happening, it can be correct going forward. And therefore, the title deeds that are supposed to be benefited by the beneficiaries, as others didn't actually manage to receive those title deeds, it's actually a problem, meaning that the communication system needs to improve to trace those beneficiaries. In relation to JDA and Joshko, it's also not a good relation, as we all know that the maintenance of all the buildings and other mandate that housing gets assistance from JDA, it seems as if it's a poor relations, of which is supposed to improve going forward. In relation to the KPIs covered currently, only 5 out of 13, hoping in future those numbers will also improve. Also, in relation to rental collection through Joshko, as Joshko is doing business for the city, the collection is also poor. Please come up with ways and means to collect those millions that we are losing. And therefore, please also going forward, consider old age homes that are within areas of townships. Take, for example, we do have ones in Soweto, and it seems as if no one is taking care of those old age homes. And therefore, with those few words that I've actually managed to try and remind our MMC that going forward, please improve so that we all appreciate to be Johannesburg. For now, we can't actually say we are happy as things happen, but all in all, this is not your own report alone. As I've indicated, our leaders were there. We will actually say for second quarter, we really appreciate what you have done with what you have actually managed to do, assisted by our leaders. And therefore, we know that you spent 2016 up to 2021, but you managed to grab for 2 years with the leaders coming from the ANC side. And therefore, that experience of 2 years, it will assist you. It's just a pity that we lost our leaders before you grabbed a lot. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Shane.
Greetings, Speaker, Executive Mayor, Leader of Executive Business, Chief Whip of Council, Chair of Chairs, MMCs, fellow councillors, and the House at large. I'll be tabling the Performance Assessment Report for the Johannesburg Social Housing Company Department for 2021-22 second quarter budget performance assessment. In terms of Section 121 of the Municipal Finance Management Act 2003 and Section 46 of the Municipal Systems Act 2000. I will be reporting on the Johannesburg Social Housing Company financial year. JOSCO's mission is to provide quality resources, economically sustainable and affordable housing products in locations that guarantee convenience to their customers. JOSCO has 21 KPIs, and for this quarter, they only reported on 16. The reports reveal that the entity achieved 17 of the 16 KPIs. The second quarter report that JOSCO financial metrics are worrying across the board. They collected 56% of the debtors. That shows the entity is factually insolvent. Majority of their projects have experienced stoppages due to conflicts between SMMEs and main contracts. During the second quarter, the entity reported a deficit of 41.6 million against a breakdown target. The year-to-date loss is 62.1 million. What a shame. The cost coverage ratio reported by the entity is a negative 372 days. As highlighted in the report's performance, all the current indicators reported have comparability issues. We have seen sweeping changes in big metros in South Africa, indicating to us that the Democratic Alliance Coalition multi-party government will not tolerate unsatisfactory performance. Mr. Speaker, this shows that JOSCO is technically insolvent. It is time for a turnaround strategy that produces clean audits. I quote, "Quality is not an act, it is a habit, and that is what the ANC lack of." I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Shame. Councillor Siidi.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. And Madam Mayor Mpopalate, Chief Whip of Council, Chair of Chairs, and all councillors and officials present. Greetings to you all. Action SA raises several concerns on the performance assessment report of JOSCO for the 2021-22 financial year end for the period October to December 2021. The presentation by officials before the Housing Committee paints a bleak picture of a department that is technically insolvent. It reports a deficit of 41.6 million rand. Think about it. This is the department that has 21 KPIs and targets in the 2021-22 business plan. But listen to this. In quarter 2, 16 targets were due for reporting. Only 6 were met, while 10 were not achieved. The entity has shown a decline in the number of targets achieved as compared to the previous quarterly. Mr. Speaker, we are also told that the department has recorded 41% capex against the cumulative target of 50%. Speaker, it is clear, it is quite clear that targets are not met and challenges faced by the department are far from over. Properties by the entity are now more than 90% occupied, but money is not coming in. Now, Speaker, the question is, who must be held liable? So our view is the management. It is clear that the entity needs a total overhaul of management.
Speaker.
If it really needs one to achieve.
Speaker.
Councillor.
Thank you, that Speaker. While the councillor is speaking, on the videos, we see Councillor Stole doing some miracles underneath the councillor. Can he retreat from such? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I have not seen that, so...
I was praying for him.
So, Councillor Sitole, I don't know what you're doing, but anyway, Councillor Saidi, 24 seconds.
He's doing a
please.
Monica Lewinsky.
24 seconds left.
Speaker, like the rest of our country, we are calling.
Please continue speaking.
Speaker, like the rest of our country, we are appealing for effective leadership with no excuses, and officials must ensure that rent is collected and the department acts against the reported rampant corruption within the entity. Speaker, we have a capable multi-party administration that wants to turn the situation around in the city that has been under siege for years under the most corrupt regime of the Scalems. It cannot be business as usual, Speaker. Heads must roll where there is no performance.
Councillor, your time is up.
With these reservations,
Thank
we accept
you.
the report and the contents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's talk.
MMC Mabaso.
Speaker of Council, the Executive Mayor, and all colleagues in the meeting. Speaker, I'm trying to avoid to respond directly to what colleagues have said. And I must first indicate that irregardless of the political administration, human settlements are the same. And I don't want us to talk about administrations because I came in 2019, but when I came in, there were challenges that were from the previous administration as well. And the previous administration that I served under had also its own challenges with human settlement. And these challenges are not going to go away until they are resolved. And I think we need to be cognizant of the fact that human settlement is a provincial and a national competence. And we mostly rely on the grants that are allocated to us. And grants are not sufficient to respond to all service delivery challenges that we are facing in the city of Johannesburg. That must be understood before we try to grandstand here. Speaker, I fully concur with colleagues when they say there are challenges with Joshko. Those that served with me in the previous administration, they will understand that we presented a turnaround strategy. And that turnaround strategy was approved by the board. But immediately after that, we tried to align the organizational structure with the strategy, and we are in a process of finalizing the OD. So Joshko is a company. So turning around a company is not an overnight thing. Those are things that are in a private sector will also understand. So it is going to be a challenge, but we are getting there as the entity. Speaker, those that understand the construction sector, they will understand that building a house is a process. So I acknowledge that both the entity and the department has underspent on CAPEX. But we must also look at the performance trend of both the entity and the department. We always exceed our target. The Department of Housing in the last financial year, we were sitting at 104% on our expenditure. And it's purely because on the construction sector, the spending is visible towards the end of the financial year. And they will see during the third quarter and the fourth quarter, there will be improvement on the spending. The reality is that with the management of council on stock, your old age homes and flats, we don't need turnaround strategy. We need budget. We are managing 339 flats. We have old age homes, but the department only has 50 million budget to maintain all these facilities. So it's not the matter of being incompetent, it's not the matter of not having capacity, it's a matter of not having sufficient budget to respond to all maintenance issues that are on the ground. And you see, I think it will be better for all of us when we read reports or study reports, like Councilor Msetla has said. We must do that concurrently with understanding the sector. We cannot do it outside that, because when you study the report, especially that speaks to human settlement and construction, you need also to understand the sector. The private investment, it's something that we spoke to with the executive mayor, and the department is working on that. We are finalizing the report that will speak to that. Councillor Dlamini, the old age home in Soweto is privately owned, is not owned by the city of Johannesburg. And title deeds.
MMC, your time.
Okay, can I respond to this one?
Okay.
On title deeds, colleagues, there is a serious challenge, and we acknowledge that we have a backlog. We acknowledge that.
Order, Speaker. Speaker, I think you should treat all the councillors fairly. That's what I raised yesterday. I'm going to raise a motion against you. Now, whether it's going to go to ethics, because you are very unfair, we are very biased, we are very partial, we are very partisan. You don't allow other councillors to continue speaking. However, you allow Babaso to continue speaking. Under what ground are you doing that?
Councillor Danja.
No, Speaker, don't do that. Please don't do that. Otherwise, we are going to raise a vote of no confidence against you for what you are doing.
Councillor Danja, I'm the speaker. You've asked for time to respond to the questions that you've raised, and I've allowed him just to respond to your questions.
So, Speaker, I want to respond to this one because I think it's important that councillors, they need to assist us on this one as well. Because there are a lot of disputes that has been received by the department. When he issue out notices for issuing of title deeds, the families, they fight over those properties, and you'll find different family members coming forward to claim those title deeds. Hence, you'll find that at some point the department then is unable to issue out all those title deeds on time. So we will really request the intervention of councillors here, and we will really plead with them to assist us in engaging with these families, because it's very difficult for government to get into family disputes. So that's all I wanted to respond to Councillor Zandla. Maybe you don't have a title deed where you're staying as well.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, MMC Mabasa.
Not izandla zihlanjwa.
Councillor Christians. Councillor Rafferty.
Thank you, Speaker. I think I addressed this particular issue in the last meeting as well. Please look into it. I can't understand that 4 minutes and 5 minutes are given to MMCs while there's a number of issues that they have to respond to. It can't be correct.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll ask the Whippery to look into it and obviously correct this issue. Councillor Ngwenya.
Ngiyabonga, my respective speaker. It is absolutely wrong to announce us ngamagama ongasiwona ethu nezibongo asizwe nezithu. MMC uMabaso ubize my respective councillor wrong. Can that please be rectified? Thank you so much.
I don't understand what you are raising, Councillor. Councillor Christian, please respond. No, Councillor Sitole, please, you are not on the list. We passed this item. You are not on the list. Is it something else? What is it? Is it on the items?
Evan, Speaker.
Thank you, Speaker.
Speaker, I will respond. Please wait.
Yes.
Councillor Stolle.
Thank you, Speaker. Angazi izolo submitted amagama, Council not ukuphila amagama izolo, and my name was submitted into this matter. And then I'm
Councillor
surprised
Sitole,
if
it's
he
not here. I don't have it. I have it for the next item. After
sorry,
item
not Councillor,
21
are not.
and item 35. Yeah, I don't have it here. Please.
It's okay.
No.
I forgive you once more.
No, Councillor, please, let's sort this once and for all out. Names are given before the time, before council starts. That's why we've got a list. The list is drawn up by the officials. I don't have anything to do with it. So please, in future, put in your names in time so that I don't have this up and down, you know, standing up and wanting to speak on items. We can't come into council not having prepared for this particular items, and that's the reason why we have a lot of arguments in here. Please, only speakers on the list that have been submitted correctly in time. Thank you. Councillor Arnolds, is it on the same issue?
Yes, Speaker. I don't really want to
Then sit down.
concur with Bushuri,
Then
but
sit
I
down.
am, Councillor Sitole, I'm agreeing with him. Yesterday, we submitted names. After you said to me, I can submit the names, we submitted all the names. Councillor not clearly right when she said he submitted his name yesterday. And this morning, we find that we are also not included on the speakers list that we were going to speak on. So I'm in agreement with my pastor there.
Councillor Arnolds, I'm going to address this for the last time. You've all seen the speakers list this morning, correct? It was circulated to you. At the time when you saw the speakers list, you should have sent the names forward so that the officials here can put it on the list. That's the process. So can we please follow that process? Thank you very much. Councillor Christians.
Speaker.
MMC.
No, thank you very much. I think that's what needs to happen, Speaker. We need to have consistency. Otherwise, we're going to create problems. But once we have been given names after you have circulated the list, then we should get an updated list. Because now, we don't know whether the names that we submitted to you this morning that we're not reflecting here are now here. So we're going to stand up and then call you to order because we're not sure whether you've got them there. So can we have an updated list since you received the names this morning? Thank you.
Councillors, can I go to the rule so that we are all clear? 63(1). So that I don't have this and a repeat of this. And that's the reason why we ask for these lists before the time. For each debate and 24 hours before the council meeting, the whippery must submit to the Speaker's office a list of councillors who are to speak in the debate and the order in which they are to speak. So I'm requesting that we follow that, firstly. If there is urgency items, those lists comes from the floor, but it must be a list that is given by your whip to ensure that the officials here are able to update that list. I will then announce it after that. But when they come into the speaker, drips by drips, it doesn't help us. So, Councillor, as we go along, I will tell you which names have been added to the speakers list. Thank you. Can we please continue? Councillor Christians, just to close the debate.
Thank you, Speaker. I note the comments of the councillors and the MMC on items 19, 20, and 34. We further note the details in the body of the reports. Councillor Dlamini, please remember that when we act from the legislature side and as the committee, we do not act on behalf of parties. We're there to do oversight of the executive. So please, in future, do not hold back on issues because it will benefit the entire committee. Before putting this item, I would like to also thank Speaker, the Housing Section 79 Committee support staff for their hard work, as this was our first meeting with all but one councillor being new to this committee, and the ED of Housing and his team, and the CEO of Joshka and his team for coming out to the meeting. I would like the House to further note that all members present representing all parties in this House agreed to both Courtleys and the committee report unanimously. Speaker, before I put the items, tonight is the night of Shab-e Barat. So, Speaker, I ask you for your forgiveness, fellow councillors for your forgiveness, and residents of the city of Johannesburg for their forgiveness as we move forward. I hereby request the House to agree to the reports for item 19. The recommendation is on page 19.2. For item 20, the recommendation is on page 20.2. And for item 34, the recommendations are on page 34.8 and 34.9. I thank you.
Councillors, is the items agreed to? Thank you very much. Councillor?
Speaker and the colleague in this house, I note that this sitting is also an open council, but with the whole technology that we have here, we are misleading the community because it's reflecting. Okay, I do believe that this council sitting, can I be protected, Speaker?
Continue, Councillor.
This session is also broadcast out, but the technology that we are using here is misleading the public because it's reflecting it as 18:36. And we are doing record of history because this is a theater of making sure that the history is captured correctly.
Thank you, Councillor. I've noted that. Now that you've mentioned it, I can't see the screen in front of me. I'm sure that the IT people will correct it. Thank you.
Our next item is item 21, which is performance assessment report for the Public Safety Department for the 2021-22 financial year for the period October to December 2021. Followed together with item 35, which is an oversight report of the Section 79 Public Safety Committee on the 2021-22 second quarter performance assessment report of the Department of Public Safety for the period of October to October 2021 and to December 2021.
Thank you. Councillors, the following councillors are on the list to speak on the two upcoming items. It would be first Councillor Maila and Councillor Chair. Following that, then Councillor Sitole, Councillor Marumo, Councillor Libotse, Councillor Sisidinyani, Councillor Tembe, and closing by Councillor Maila. Thank you. Councillor Maila. Councillor Dami.
Thanks, Speaker. We're requesting you to remove Councillor Sese, and Councillor Marumo will speak on behalf of NC alone. Thank you. And with 10 minutes.
Thank you. Councillor Maila. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Speaker, Your Worship, the Executive Mayor, honorable members of Council, it is my singular honor and privilege to table the oversight report of the Section 79 Public Safety Committee on the Department of Public Safety's second quarter performance report in respect of the 2021-2022 financial year, covering the period between October and December 2021. It's common cause now, Mr. Speaker, that the committee held its inaugural meeting on Friday, the 4th of March 2022, to exercise its powers and perform its functions in terms of the provisions of Section 79 of the Local Government Municipal Structures Act 117 of 1998. Mr. Speaker, we do this not because we delight in flexing our muscles or throwing our weight around as public representatives, but we do it because we are a constitutional democracy in which no government shall claim any legitimacy unless it is based on the freely expressed will of the people. We do what we do because Section 152, subsection 1A of the Constitution of the Republic places an obligation on us inter alia to provide democratic and accountable government for local communities. We do it because we are steadfast in our belief that it is only when the executive is held to account without fear, favor, or prejudice that sustainable service delivery improvements to the residents of this great city shall be realized. Mr. Speaker, the committee has observed that the department identified a total of 22 key performance indicators for the current financial year 21-22 ending June 30, 2022. We have noted that only 16 of these indicators, which represent 76%, were achieved during the reporting period. That means the department has underperformed on or underachieved its targets or key performance measurement indicators by some 24%. This underperformance relates to the number of crime hotspots where closed-circuit television infrastructure has been installed, percentage of fire calls dispatched in 3 minutes, number of entertainment areas inspected, number of community members trained on the Community Emergency Response Team program, and the number of individuals registered through the EMS internship program. The committee further observed that the full implementation of the ward-based policing model remains a challenge for the department. Whilst we commend the department for clustering the wards as part of this initiative, the committee is concerned that most wards don't even have 50% of the JMPD officers they should have. Clearly, Mr. Speaker, this calls for Council to urgently consider allocating more resources, both human and material, to this department to enable it to deliver on its overall public safety mandate. We are impelled and bound to commend the department for collecting a staggering...
Councillor, your time is up.
And bound.
Thank you. Councillor Chair.
And bound. And bound.
Bound.
Councillor Chair.
Bound.
Prince Charles. Prince Charles.
Thank you, Councillor.
Bound. Bounded.
Just say I table. Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, can you indulge the councillor to 5 seconds just to say I hereby table the reports?
Councillor?
Mr. Speaker, I hereby table the report to Council. Thanks very much.
Bound.
Councillor Chair. Thank you.
Bounded.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
It's bounded.
Thank you once again, Speaker. I'd like to...
Councillor, I just want to address something so that I don't waste your time. Councillors, please, when any councillor starts speaking, I need everybody around him to please sit down and give him that opportunity to speak. We're not really being fair to other councillors. Councillors, please start, and we'll start your time completely from the beginning. Thanks. You've got 2. Let me just check. You've got 3 minutes, Councillor.
Thank you, Speaker. Greetings, colleagues, Honorable Mayor, the Executive, Party Caucus Leader, Chair Rafferty, and salute to all the patriots in surrounding Joburg. Speaker, I rise to speak to the second quarter report of the Safety Department. As the Patriotic Alliance, our commitment to returning the rule of law in the city of Johannesburg in partnership with stakeholders remains top priority. The combined effort in dealing with illegal foreign nationals and hijacked buildings is commendable. Enforcement to prevent illegal land occupation remains a major challenge in the city. As the saying goes, prevention is better than cure. Greater efforts needs to be placed on this. It is our plea as the Patriotic Alliance to the department to foster a better relationship with Gauteng EMS to ensure that the citizens of this progressive and beautiful city gets the service that they deserve. We as the Patriotic Alliance encourages all departments to get into the fight and reclaim Johannesburg. I'd like to quote what the late Mendoza said, "Uzokuthola kanjani ehlele khonini." I thank you.
Nigerian soccer coach. Nigerian soccer coach.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sitole.
Slochise, Speaker, Councilor Vasco da Gama, Slochise Umeyara Sakambile, Slochise Futi, a whip of the council, Slochise Futi, a deputy speaker ya ACDP, if EFF doesn't have a deputy speaker. Ngilochise amakhanselara wonke akhona ngendlini apha. Ngilochise futhi nabo bonke abasimameleko ngemratu nangezinye indlela sikhumana ngabo ngazo.
Councillor Sitole, please take
Am I
your seat.
speaking to the mic first?
Councillor Sitole, there's this point of order. Will you take your seat? Councillor, please rise.
Ke a leboga, Speaker. Ka kgopelo, we are pleading with Councillor Stone to speak on the report and leave the EFF alone. There's no EFF in that report that is going to talk about. Let him stick to the report, and you are sitting there and not cautioning him, Speaker. And it's your duty.
Councillor, please just take your seat. You've raised your point. Councillor Stoller.
Thank you, Speaker.
To the report.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm rising on the item 21 and 35, which talks about performance assessment report for the Public Safety Department for the 2021-2022 financial year for the period of October to December. And again, in the item oversight report of the Section 79 Public Safety Committee on the 2021-2022 and a Quota performance assessment report of the Department of Public Safety of the period of October and December 2021. Speaker and the Deputy Speaker, I'm hereby saying this on behalf of the ACDP that we are rising with concern when some of these departments are not well functioning. When you go to some testing stations, we find that some of those testing stations were closed and the residents of the city of Johannesburg was left unattended. I was also one of the victims of that I went there to acquire my license. I find that the station is closed. And when it's closed, we're not informed, or whether it's open now or not. So that gives us a great concern. We also want to thank Section 79 committee that was seated on the day stipulated. And we got the report that the committee have tried their best to make sure that this department is revived in the capacity of the chairperson Maila, as well as the MMC. We also want to say as a ACDP that will give you as much support that you need to make sure that this department is functional. We also want the city to know and the resident to know that the safety of our residents and the councillors particular must be prioritized. We have seen...
Councillor Stoller, your time is over.
Okay,
Thank you,
I
Councillor.
accept.
Councillor Marumo.
Thank you, Speaker. Greetings to the ANC Leader of Caucus, Councilor Mpomo Erane. Once again, greetings to the Chief Whip of the Glorious Congress Movement of the People and a Majority Party, Councilor Mgina. Greetings again to the Deputy Chief Whip of the ANC, Councilor Dame, fellow councillors and fellow Jobegas. We would like to appreciate and commend the previous ANC GLU-led administration in witnessing progress made thus far in this report. Contrary to the confused DA-led administration we find ourselves in, which today chooses to terminate a contract of 130 people employment willy-nilly. We would want to say shame on you, Madam Mayor, and your collective. It's a disgrace.
Employees.
We are saying those employees are feeding families, and what are you expecting them to do when you are doing that willy-nilly? But citizens of South Africa are not fools, they see what's happening. We would like to appreciate, once again, the report that is being tabled here. But Speaker, moving forward, we are saying, the community of Ivory Park, Diepsloot, Orange Farm, Lion Park, Alexandra, Stwetla, and the rest of the informal settlements in the entire city are living in horrible conditions because of not having fire trucks and ambulances in fire stations. We demand that the city should speed up the process of obtaining their license for ambulances, and that every fire station should have a fire truck, as it is a right, and we know that we are having serious, horrible conditions in our areas. We are asking the DA-led confused administration to provide us with an alternative plan while we are still waiting for the to be resolved, and I stand to be proved wrong.
Councillor, there's a point of order.
Oh.
Please take your seat. Councillor Sithole.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm rising, Speaker, with the concern because the councillor there is misleading the House. He's saying that DA-led confused, and we want to tell him that we are not DA-led, and we are not confused.
Thank you, Councillor Sithole.
Please, he must withdraw that, please, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Sithole.
Please.
Take your seat, please. Please
Unfortunately,
continue,
I was
Councillor.
not speaking Ndebele, I was speaking English. We are asking the DA-led confused administration to provide us with an alternative plan while we are waiting the above to be resolved. And I stand to be proven wrong because I know you are not capable. Speaker, the latest quarterly crime figures by Minister Cele released on Friday revealed that in Joburg, femicide and child killings are alarming. Out of 6,900 people killed, more than 900 were women and around 350 were children. Attempted murders were 1,284 and assault bodily harm was 15,692. The police said on average there were 123 rape cases per day. Carjacking is high. Housebreaking and theft is high. Vandalism is high. So as the ANC was saying, based on the above, we demand that the JMPD ward-based policing to be effective in all wards, particularly in townships, not to be in the CBD, Speaker. We don't know what are they doing here because things are happening in townships. We have a problem, Speaker. We have made an observation that the DA present to society a fallacy of upholding the rule of law or clamping down crime. The visibility in the inner city is commendable by the JMPD, but as I said earlier on, you left the important critical areas behind. You do not have to rob Peter, point 4